much each one of us loves doing this. So I'm going to read so it doesn't turn into the last video fiasco that we tried to do together. So, I wear many hats at the museum, but one of my favorite things about working here is the student mentorship. So my question to you is, what do you think is your best quality as an employee?
I'm willing to take on any role that is given.
So we first met back in 2017, and you just finished your first year of university, and that was the summer when we transitioned our programs from weekly events to specialized events. And you're here for our first Harry Potter camp and our first afternoon tea series when we switched the focus to a literary themed tea series. And we sold 5 tickets. I think we've come a long way. And you were placed here by the university for your public history internship. And then you experienced the effects of the pandemic and the closure of the museum, and we weren't able to hire students that year. And then you're back here for the reopening, which there is a drastic shift and a new focus on digitization. And you just finished your second degree, and you're moving on to your master's in education this fall. And it's been a fantastic opportunity to watch you grow from a student into a professional. The first year that you worked here, your answer to the question was, what surprised you most about working here at the museum? And your answer was the amount of work that goes behind the scenes to making a museum happen and into museum operations. And it's funny because as we did the questions, a lot of people came up with that same answer. And this year you planned your own event, start to finish. Like, I just gave you the reins, the budget, and I said, here you go. And I tried not to bother you. And you did it, and you did every aspect of it. So I knew that this would come eventually, but we're getting to the end of you being here as a summer student, right? You've never really been one of our interpreters because you use books, you've never really been one of our interpreters because I think your biggest strength that you have is your love for books and literacy, and the creative ingenuity that you use to bring books to life and help others love reading, which I think is one of your attributes as you move forward with your teaching career. And when I was in grade 9, we had a teacher that genuinely loved history, and he loved history so much that he made us want to be in his classroom. And there's kids that didn't like history at all. And we just did the work because he loved it so much. And I think that you have that ability to foster those relationships in students with literacy. And that's why I wanted a natural reactions.
You wrote a literal paragraph.
I did. It's your exit interview. I wanted to change it up and do something different because I always find that people take these so seriously and there's so much pressure. I like to have a work environment that people feel comfortable in. Thank you for your work this summer.
Yeah, you're welcome. I think I'm coming back in a few weeks.
Yeah. All right, so we're gonna keep this like really informal, just kind of like the interview process too. So my goal at the museum is not to micromanage the staff, but to use principles of leadership to help you grow as individuals and as professionals. So my question to you is, what do you think your best quality is as an employee?
Work too hard.
You work too hard. Is that your answer? Wrong.
Wrong.
No, just teasing you.
Pensive employee.
You're so funny. Okay, so I was going to tell you that you are patient and persistent. And you applied to work here, was it 2 or 3 summers, I think it was. But it always happened kind of at the end of our hiring process. And then 2021, again, you're our last resume to come in. And I just finished the interviews and I was assessing all of them. And then you called the museum to follow up because we had the issue with the email. And I scheduled the interview via Zoom at the last minute. And I'm thankful that we did, and I think you came to work at the museum at the right time. Your first experience here was a little atypical, not what we normally do for our first year working in museums. You came here during the digitization process of our archives and during the reopening after the pandemic. And you worked through the intense protocols and with the public on the weekends and the sanitizing and the capacity limits, and it was just such an unusual experience for me as a museum director, and for you, we didn't really have anything to compare it to. And then you're placed here by the university for your public history internship, which involved more archival work. And I think that pensive time management is your biggest asset, which is crucial in any business. You're able to self-regulate your time in terms of project management and to maintain a continuous motion, and you have a natural ability to time the daily responses in conversation with facts and reason, which I think is a really good skill to have. And when you interact with the other employees, you listen to hear, and you listen to hear what they have to say, and you listen to communicate. You don't just listen to response. And I think that you have a bright future ahead of you, whichever your next journey will be, because I know you are not the big planner like me.
I put that on my resume. That's good.
Yeah. So thank you.
That's really nice. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your work here this summer.
Well, thanks for hiring me.
Don't be nervous. You don't need to be nervous. I can say that I actually also just like being on camera.
Yeah.
It's just a conversation. Okay. One of the key principles of leadership that is important is helping our staff and students achieve their vision of their potential. And then I like to push them a little bit further to reach new expectations. So my question to you is, what do you think is your best quality as an employee?
I do my best to be attentive and take in as much as I can, like just absorbing. Like, so anytime anybody's talking, I'm doing my best to kind of listen, even if it's like nonsensical. It's like, even just hearing you guys talk about going to like university, like it's helpful to kind of absorb the skills that I hear you guys talk about. So I think it's just trying to be attentive to instructions and to just what's going on around me.
There's no right or wrong answer. So I wrote something down because I already said, we know I'm horrible on camera. 47 retakes. So you had a later start date than everybody.
Mm-hmm.
But you actually were one of my first hires this season. And I gave you the interview because you have the experience working with kids. But I hired you because of your sincere dedication and your willingness to want to work. And if you remember, we had the mistake with the interview because I actually thought you were doing your teaching placement, and it was a co-op placement, and it's scheduled during school time. And rather than just calling me and saying, hey, let's reschedule, you called the school, you talked to your parents, and you come in for this interview. So even though I had an idea that you'd be working with events with the hopes that we'd be able to do events this year and maybe bring back some of our day camps and things like that, you had so many more talents. And you had the ability to communicate in just a genuine manner with everybody. And you had an artistic ability that, you helped create the signs, and I know it's a lot of work, but now we have this beautiful sign updated on the front of the pensioners cottage that everyone's going to see. And I'd never thought of doing a printing press sign, and now we have it, and it's gorgeous. And you did the research to find, the artwork to go onto it, and you did a lovely job. And your artistic ability helped to, support our summer events, and you gave tours. And to follow up on what you said, you asked follow-up questions, right? It was to, improve your tour and gain more knowledge, and I love that. This was your first experience working in our museum, and I think you possess a natural ability to grasp a lot of aspects of museum operations. And in research, and you have a penchant for learning, and you were able to wear many hats this summer.
Sometimes literal.
And one really pretty one. And I think, you're just starting on, you're going to first year university with history, but I think you have a future in museums. You just have that natural ability to just pick up and go and try something new. And going into university, I think it's going to improve your research methods because you don't really have that background. I mean, you understand it on like a high school level, but I think this is just going to foster your ability to help build on an already stable foundation that you have. And I really look forward to potentially having the ability to help you further develop your skills in a public history setting, not just in heritage interpretation, but I would really like to see what you do if you have an opportunity to work on exhibit design. And I'd really like to see even you learning how to cook in the kitchen and getting on all those hands-on aspects, because I think you have that underlying potential there. Again, this is like your first year here and you just knocked it out of the park. So thank you very much for all your work this summer.
Thank you very much. It's good to hear stuff like that too, because I was just like, okay, I'm on the right path, like choosing university.
Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Who's gonna have a conversation?
Okay.
But I wrote everything down. And we were joking about it earlier, because in the fall, Carly and I made videos and we took a lot of takes. So, positive reinforcement and redirection, rather than intimidation and negative energy, creates a better work environment with less stress, and it allows staff the opportunity to make mistakes and learn from them and grow. What do you think is your best quality as an employee?
Oh gosh, that's a loaded question. I think my best quality is probably my time management, because I like to stay on task and get things done in a certain amount of time. So I think I can help keep people on track when I'm getting distracted.
I would agree with you, but I wanted to add something else.
Okay.
So, I interviewed you based on your experience with the past perfect software. So I had the idea that, Emily's going to do a lot of archiving, which you did. But you worked very well with everyone on staff, and you were nervous giving your first tour. And I remember that. And it was like you and Carl, and you had the content down, but I think you were worried about making a mistake. Anytime everybody gives their first tour, they're always worried about making a mistake. And I always tell people, don't worry about it, we'll work through it. And I listened to your first two rooms, and then I kind of slid in on the rest, right? And you stayed with the tour, and you watched the interaction, and it looked like it was planned that way. And you helped create this seamless shift into a learning experience for yourself. And like you soaked everything in. You saw how the tour was done and the interaction. Because have you ever done? You haven't done it. I didn't think you'd done a guided tour before. But this summer, your tours, they were on fire. So you have a natural, intuitive ability to give guided tours and interact with people. Our visitors this summer, they were extremely, extremely pleased with the tours and the interactions that they had with you, and we received countless compliments, which is nice. And we had a weird last 2 years, and now that we're kind of getting back into the swing of guided tours again, it was really nice to see visitors enjoying themselves, but you helped facilitate that enjoyment, right? Because history, sometimes it gets a bad rap for being boring, but when you get to interact with it in a different way, it becomes interesting and engaging, and you become part of the history. And you said you wanted to make documentaries when you're done school, and I think you have the ability to do that, and you're on track. Today's your last day. So good luck with the university, and I want to thank you for all your work this summer.
Thank you.
Don't worry, this is more of like a conversation. With one question.
Oh, sure.
So they're not nearly as tense as some of the other ones I asked. Okay, so collaboration and cooperation are essential in the workplace. What do you think is your best quality as an employee?
Should have thought ahead with this one. Probably my ability to work together with other people.
Pretty much what I wrote. That's it, good.
Okay.
So staff hires here are based on their personality and how they interact during an interview. I'm typically not worried about experience because that's really something I can teach you. We have a small museum, so our goal here is to build a cohesive team that will work together to support one another and learn from one another. Each year we hire at least one student that's not a history major, and clearly that was you. I think that your strength is your adaptability and your willingness to jump onto a project and to help your coworkers. You were hired for communications. We used your knowledge to help with logos and videos, but you're also willing to help with the photographing of the archives. Did you expect to do archival work this year?
Not really, but I wasn't like afraid of doing it.
You also help with the gift shop and events. So collaboration, communication, and teamwork are essential, I think, for what you want to do. I mean, aside from having the skill of and knowledge of computers, I think you're on the right track, and a little bit of teamwork goes a long way sometimes. And there's a fine line between having too much, but you've always had the right amount. And I want to thank you for your work this summer. And I tried to find a penguin, but the best I could find is a pirate kitten in an ice cream cone, and I think it's ending.
That's awesome. Thank you.
You're
That's
welcome.
great.
Thanks for your work.
Did everyone else get a gift?